The first people appeared on Earth approximately 2.5 million years ago, during which time a large number of evolutions took place, because of which many of our needs changed or some disappeared altogether. We no longer need to hunt large animals like mammoths or constantly light fires, but there's a need that was born back in those times and has remained with us. This is a search for one partner. A person, roughly speaking, cannot live alone. He needs support. But this wasn't always the case. Our ancestors introduced a slightly different way of life, one we consider less than ideal. Polygamy, a form of marriage that allows for multiple spouses to be married at the same time, was prevalent in those days. There are many different versions of the story, such as Ancentis Akuku Agwala, a Kenyan polygamist who had over 100 wives. He married for the first time in 1939, and his last marriage was in 1992. He had 160 children. King Solomon of Israel. According to the Bible, he had 700 wives and 300 concubines. The wives were from various nations, Egyptians, Ammonites, Edomites, and others, and played a political role in strengthening alliances. It seems that this no longer exists in our time, but today let's delve deeper into the country of Pakistan. The Islamic Republic of India is a country in South Asia formed in 1947 as a result of the partition of British India. It is bordered by the Arabian Sea to the south and is bordered by Iran to the southwest, Afghanistan to the northwest and north, China to the northeast, and India to the east. Islam permits a man to have up to 4 wives, provided he is able to treat them fairly, provide for them financially, and give each one equal attention. This provision is enshrined in the Quran, in Surah An-Nisa, verse 3, and marry women whom you find agreeable, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you will not be just, then 1. Thus, polygamy in Pakistan is considered part of Islamic law, Sharia, which significantly influences the country's legislation. Polygamy in Pakistan is also associated with cultural traditions and social status. In some cases, it can be seen as a way to strengthen social ties or achieve financial well-being. However, the practice is not widespread. According to some studies, polygamy is predominantly prevalent in certain regions, for example, Sindh, southern Punjab, or among religious fundamentalists and the urban elite who can afford to support multiple families. We started talking about Pakistan because a man who has become famous worldwide lives there. His name is Muhammad Ajani, a doctor by profession. He is famous for raising 53 children. He was featured in a 2021 episode of the TV show The World Inside Out. Muhammad Ajani is a doctor by profession. At the time of filming, he was 47 years old and married to 3 women. He has 53 children with them. At the time of filming, 2 of his 3 wives were pregnant. Muhammad Ajani wanted to have 100 children and was planning to marry for the 4th time. He said he worked day and night to provide for his family. Groceries for the household had to be purchased by the truckload. The house had 2 computers, which only the older children were allowed to use, and 3 mobile phones for communication when the children went to school, college, or university. Supporting such a large family requires a significant financial investment. Muhammad and his wives work together to provide all their children with everything they need. He emphasizes the importance of raising his children in the spirit of Islam, which is a priority for him. Muhammad relies entirely on his faith and strives to follow the Quran and Sunnah in raising his children. He believes that raising his children in the spirit of Islam is paramount, helping him cope with difficulties and feel confident about his children's future. Muhammad Ajani's story exemplifies how one family can overcome enormous challenges and maintain unity by relying on their beliefs and traditions. The main reasons for permitting polygamy in Islam are the protection of widows and orphans. In times of war and demographic decline, the opportunity to marry a widow or orphan provided them with protection and financial security. Preventing adultery. Muslims believe that polygamy can protect a man from adultery, reducing the risk of sexually transmitted diseases, increasing divorce rates, and other negative consequences. Addressing demographic imbalances. In some situations, for example, post-war times or when women significantly outnumbered men, polygamy allowed more women to be under their husband's care and support, satisfying a man's needs. For some men who could not satisfy their passions with one woman, polygamy became an opportunity to fulfill their desires within a legal relationship. It is important to note that polygamy in Islam is not an obligation or an ideal. Rather, it is an exception permitted under certain conditions. Depending on the situation, polygamy may be desirable, undesirable, or even forbidden for a man. Muhammad Ajani's wives are quite young. His first wife is 37, his second is 35, and his third is 33. Compared to her husband, the age difference is significant. According to a calculator, this translates to 3 children born per year. Muhammad Ajani wants to achieve his goal of 100 children to break the world record. Many journalists have wanted to photograph his wives, but he adheres to his traditions and refuses to show them. Each wife has her own room, and they're all identical, as Islam requires equality among wives. The children sleep on the floor in their wives' rooms, with a blanket laid out for them. We talked about an amazing family, one where love, faith, and responsibility are intertwined into one grand story. A family from Pakistan, with 4 wives and 53 children, tells us what it means to live by traditions, believe in a higher power, and bear the enormous yet radiant burden of parenthood. Every day here begins with prayer and ends with caring for one another. The head of the family takes on a colossal responsibility to provide for everyone, to pay attention to each one, to raise them in the spirit of faith and respect. The wives share responsibilities, support each other, and create the very hearth around which the future of this large dynasty grows. What's most striking? Not the number of children or the complexity of everyday life, but the atmosphere. There's no room for indifference in this home. Everyone knows their place and role. The older children help the younger ones, learning responsibility from an early age. Their parents instill in them values that have been passed down from generation to generation: respect for elders, hospitality, hard work, and deep faith. Yes, everything is different here. Grocery is bought by the truckload, and it takes time to gather all the children for a group photo. There are 2 computers for 53 children and a strict queue. 3 mobile phones, just for communication when someone goes to school or university. But there's wisdom in this. Limitations teach us to appreciate what we have and share with others. This family lives according to the laws of Islam, and faith is their support. The head of the family says he draws strength from prayer and trusts the future in the Almighty. He dreams of having 100 children, not for fame, but because he sees in each child a gift and an opportunity to continue the good traditions. But behind all this is more than just following customs. Behind it all are real human stories: love, support, compromise, daily work. Polygamy here is not an exotic idea, but a conscious choice based on religious and cultural norms. Each wife is part of a single whole, each with her own voice, her own role, and her own happiness. What do we take with us after meeting this family? The understanding that happiness isn't measured by our usual standards. It lies in unity, in faith, in the ability to love and care despite difficulties. It lies in the ability to see every day as a blessing and every child as a miracle. Perhaps this way of life is far from our usual way of life, but it reminds us that family is more than just people under one roof. It's a team, a tradition, a responsibility, and boundless love. May this story inspire you to appreciate your loved ones. Find joy in the simple things, and remember, true strength lies in unity and faith.